Okay, so it has been 6 months now since Apple released their Satin Black Ultra 2, and I think one of the biggest questions that all of us had was, how durable is this finish really going to be, especially compared to the natural titanium of the original Ultra and the Ultra 2? And in this video, I wanted to answer that question after using the Satin Black Ultra 2 for over 6 months. And I've actually got shots with both a normal camera lens as well as some really up close shots with a macro lens, just so you can kind of pixel peek. And I've even got a natural titanium Ultra 2 here, just so you can kind of see the difference. Now, as we all know, the Satin Black Ultra 2 is basically the exact same watch as the natural titanium Ultra 2. And while we didn't get the Ultra 3, I think all of us were kind of anticipating, we at least did get that new color option, which I think all of us wanted all along. Now, I think the biggest concern around durability was how well, or maybe not well, previous black Apple Watches fared in this department, but the Satin Black Ultra 2 isn't just painted titanium. So Apple made a pretty big deal about how they achieved this finish with a PVD-like process that not only achieved the look, but also diamond-like characteristics for durability. And these processes aren't just painting the titanium. So these processes actually blast carbon and other materials that embed themselves into the natural metal. And what they also mentioned is that the process on the Satin Black Ultra 2, it's apparently supposed to be even more durable than the natural titanium. And I've used my Satin Black Ultra 2 pretty consistently over the last 6 months for everything that I do, from road biking to mountain biking to running to trail running, hiking, as well as even some rock climbing. And what's kind of funny is that I don't generally damage my watches during outdoor activities. It's just more like the normal day-to-day stuff where I may damage my watch, like maybe like brushing up against a concrete wall or like hitting a corner or something like that. And I definitely don't baby my watches or anything like that. And I don't use protective cases either. So basically what happens kind of happens. Okay, so first up, let's take a look at it with a normal camera lens, which I think is going to be the best representation of how we normally see it with the naked eye. And I really couldn't see much from this distance. It doesn't look brand new, of course, but there also aren't really any obvious signs of damage either. The only things I really noticed were a few small marks on the side of the case, like here as well as here, but they're kind of faint for the most part. All in all, I think it looked really good at this distance. But now let's take a really up close look at it with a macro lens to just kind of see those details we may not be able to see with a naked eye. So for the case, I noticed just a very few small dings on the protection around the dial as well as a side button. Again, can't really see them with a naked eye, but up close with a macro lens, they're sort of noticeable. And then on the other side with the speaker and action button, the orange color on the action button has actually kind of worn off just a little bit on the inside. And then for the sapphire lens, well, that's actually perfect from what I can tell, even with a macro lens. Now, a sapphire lens, although extremely durable, isn't necessarily completely scratch proof either. I've actually scratched one on a previous watch, but for the lens on the Ultra 2, that's held up really well. And then for the back of the watch, this looks to be pretty good here too. There are a few small little scratches right around the heart rate sensor, but all in all, this looked pretty good. But this also is against my wrist most of the time too. Now for the edges around the bezel, this kind of surprised me where I didn't really see much wear and tear here, where this was the one area where I was expecting to see some dings, but other than a few small spots like here or there on some corners, this bezel looks surprisingly in good shape. Now for the rest of the case, that looked pretty good here as well, but there were those spots like we saw previously, like here and here, where there were those kind of faint scratches. But what I found kind of interesting is that these weren't like scratches all the way down to the raw titanium. It seems like the coating that they have on here actually does provide a good amount of protection to the natural titanium. Now for the natural titanium Ultra 2 that I have, so this particular watch is about a year older than the Black Ultra 2, but for the most part, this looks pretty good here too. There are certainly more blemishes with it, but I think that's kind of be expected, but it still looks good even at this distance. And I think really the biggest thing that I noticed were more dings around the edge of the bezel, but it still looks pretty good for the most part. Now anything can be scratched, of course, and at the end of the day, this is still just a coating, but for like the normal wear and tear over the last 6 months, I think it's held up really well. And of course, if we take a really up close look at it with that macro lens, sure, there's going to be some imperfections, but from the naked eye, I think it looks really good. Now, of course, if you accidentally go tumbling down a mountain or something like that, something will probably happen to your watch. But at that point, I'd probably be more concerned with making sure all my limbs were attached. So Apple definitely made a pretty big deal about this color, as well as the process for how they achieved it, as well as the durability, but I think they did a really good job here. And don't just take my word for it. So Jerry Rig Everything also did a video on the durability of a Satin Black Ultra 2, and well, I think that video is worth a watch. Anyhow, that's just a quick video I want to do about the Satin Black Ultra 2. And if you liked the video or found the information in this video to be useful, do me a favor, hit that like button, and also be on the lookout for plenty more sports tech videos that are dropping this month. In the meantime, have fun out there, and we will see you in the next video.